Glenalta was the stately home of a local political family in the Adelaide Hills, near the town of Stirling, off the old Carey Gully Road, for many years, until the late 1970s. For a while it was a horse stud, and was then subdivided in the 1980s. During the time it operated as a horse stud, something strange occurred one night. It was a fine and clear summer night, the 7th of February 1980. Darryl Brown had worked as a stockman since he was a teenager, and had taken up employment at Glenalta only 4 weeks earlier. The 21-year-old man was upstairs watching TV while babysitting some children in a house on the property. He had with him 2 dogs, both Great Danes. At about 9:50 p.m, the dogs started howling for some reason unknown to Brown. Then he heard a loud crashing noise from outside. Unsure of what could have caused the noise, he grabbed a torch and ventured outside, locking the door behind him. In the stables, he could hear the horses were scared by the sounds they were making. It was said that for some days after, the horse feces was an odd colour. At first he could not pinpoint the cause of the commotion. Then he walked down the driveway, shining the torch around. As it lighted a cypress tree, Darryl caught a glimpse of something strange. In the torchlight, it appeared to be yellow, about 25 to 30 feet in diameter. It was described as being shaped like a speedboat, although Brown also said it was a half-moon shape. He heard no sounds coming from it. It wasn't self-luminous, and he only got a brief glimpse as the light played across it. When he tried to see it again, whatever it was had vanished in silence. Darryl called the police, who came and observed that there was damage to the tree, but as the thing had gone, there was nothing else they could do. However, in making the report, the story quickly got out, and the next day was in the newspapers as a story of a UFO crashing into a tree. Over the next few days, Glenalta Stud was visited by UFO researchers asking for details, scientists taking samples to test, and the curious sightseeing, to the point where Darryl admitted that if he ever witnessed anything like it again, he'd tell nobody. He personally didn't believe or disbelieve in flying saucers. UFO Research South Australia sent 3 investigators who viewed the scene in daylight on the 9th of February. They reported that the damage was about 20 metres off the ground on the eastern side of the tree. 5 large branches were damaged about 3 metres out from the trunk. The top branch had splintered at a knothole, whereas the 4 below it had broken and were hanging down, but still attached to the tree. There was no burning or other exotic damage to the tree noticed. Very little foliage had fallen to the ground, and no apparent wreckage from an object either. The investigators from UFO Research believed that the damage to the tree was natural. A branch had snapped and fallen, breaking those below it. The yellow thing was just a trick of the light on Darryl's eyes. However, other researchers felt there may have been something unusual in the skies over Adelaide. Colin Norris was convinced that the incident displayed classic signs of a landing. He checked the tree the day after the incident with an infrared detector and said that it showed a higher amount of heat in the tree than compared to the rest of the area. Ham radio operators reported a sudden blackout of transmissions on the same night that Darryl was startled. 1 week later, on the 13th of February, a brilliant fireball was sighted over South Australia. Similar arboreal damage had occurred in 1966 at McHargs Creek, about 30 kilometres south of Stirling, where a tree had been found with all of its branches, about 25 of them, broken on one side. In that case, vandalism and wind damage were ruled out as causes. Also in 1966, at Yundee, not far from McHargs Creek, a stand of trees had been destroyed by something that might have been ball lightning. Was it a UFO that crashed into the tree at Glenalta? The answer to that is, of course, somewhere in the dark corners of history.